Hello everyone. Welcome to the set of a decade of contracts from the slot 1 of CAT 2020 examination. Let's get cracking on the set. It says 4 institutes A, B, C and D had contracts with 4 vendors W, X, Y and Z during the 10 calendar years from 2010 to 2019. The contracts were either multi-year contracts running several years or single year contracts. No institute had more than one contract with the same vendor. Fair enough. However, in a calendar year, an institute may have had contracts with multiple vendors and a vendor may have had contracts with multiple institutes. It is known that over the decade, the institutes each got into 2 contracts with 2 of these vendors. That means A would have had 2 contracts, B would have had 2 contracts, so with C and so with D. And each vendor got into 2 contracts with 2 of these institutes. That means W would get 2 of these contracts, X would get 2, Y would get 2 and Z would get 2. Which means that there are a total of 8 contracts. The following facts are also known about these contracts. Vendor Z had at least 1 contract in every year. So now I think I should quickly plot down these years so that I can tabulate the information comfortably. Of which I know vendor Z had at least 1 contract in every year. Vendor X had 1 or more contracts in every year up to 2015, but no contract in any year after that. Fair enough. So vendor X. Vendor Y had contracts in 2010 and 2019. Vendor W had contracts in only 2012. But vendor W must have had 2 contracts. So I'll put 2 contracts for W here. There were 5 contracts in 2012. There must have been 5 contracts here. I can already see 4 of them. W, W, X, Z. Which means either X repeats or Z repeats here. There were exactly 4 multi-year contracts. Now that's a valuable piece of information. 4 multi-year contracts means that there must be 4 single-year contracts. Institute B had a 7-year contract. B had a 7-year contract. D had a 4-year contract. A and C had 1 3-year contract each. The other 4 contracts were single-year contracts. Fair enough. Now at this point, I start to think the 7-year contract is a very long contract and only one person seems to have had such a long phase, Z. That means vendor Z must have got the contract with B. So I can establish that. So let me put that this vendor must have been Z. Also, we knew that there must be a repetition here. If Z gets a 7-year contract and a 4-year contract, that will be 7 and 4, 11. That will be a repetition. But then the problem is that if a 4-year contract is here and a 7-year contract is here, the repetition will be in 2013. And if a 7-year contract is here and a 4-year contract is here, the repetition will be in 2016. But we want the repetition to be in 2012. So that means Z must not have got the 7 and a 4-year contract. Z must have got a 7-year contract and a 3-year contract. So either it will be like this 3 years, 7 years, or it will be like this 7 years, 3 years. Which means that the 3-year contract and 4-year contract must have gone with X. And coincidentally, it will repeat exactly if we have a contract somewhat like this. So a 3-year contract from 2010 to 2012 and a 4-year contract from 2012 to 2015. So it all makes sense at this point. Now, Institute C had one or more contracts in 2012 but did not have any contract in 2011. Now, C is the guy who had this 3-year contract. If we establish that Z had a 3-year contract here and the other 3-year contract is here, then C will not be able to have any contract of 3 years tenure because C must not have a contract in 2011. That tells us two things. One, that the 3-year contract cannot be here. That means it must be an arrangement of 7-year contract and 3-year contract. Also, that this 3-year contract must be the contract with C, because had this 3-year contract been contract with C, this point would become false. So C, C, C. The other 3-year contract was with A, which means that this 3-year contract that X had must have been with Institute A. We already know that the 4-year contract was with D. So therefore, this must be XD. And the 7-year contract was with B. So this must be ZB. Now, the 7th point. Institutes B and D each had exactly one contract in 2012. Now I already know the contract of B and the contract of D, which means both these contracts are neither with B nor with D. So there are only two institutes left, A and C. So one must be with A, one must be with C. Institute D did not have any contract in 2010. So this must not be a contract with D. Then it can be a contract with whom? A has already had two contracts. C has already had two contracts. D cannot have a contract here. That means this must be Institute B and this must be Institute D. And that's it. We are done with all the contracts here. So I'll just outline the contracts. With that, we have completely analyzed every contract among all the 8 contracts between institutes ABCD and vendors WXYZ. Let's just quickly tidy up this information and start solving the questions. In which of the following years were there 2 or more contracts? Well, the number of contracts I have not noted down yet. Let me just quickly jot down. 2010 to 2015 and 2019. So among the answer options, the correct answer should be 2015. Next question. Which of the following is true? D had a contract with Y in 2019. That's true. So that means that's our answer. Next one. In how many years during this period was there only one contract? As we had just seen, 2016, 2017, 2018. 3 years, there were only one contracts. What best can be concluded about the number of contracts in 2010? There were 3, exactly 3. Which institutes had multiple contracts during the same year? During the same year, multiple contracts. B had. So B is definitely one of those institutes. And well, A had. So A is also one of those institutes. What about C? No. D? No. So A and B only. Answer option 2 is the correct answer. And the last question of this set. Which institutes and vendors had more than one contracts in any year? More than one contracts in any year, we've already seen that A and B are definitely the institutes. I think by the answer options, we can straight away mark answer option 3, but you can also check W and X are the only vendors who have multiple contracts in the same calendar year. With that, we've completely solved all the 6 questions. Again, this was one of those classic sets wherein you have to invest a little bit more time during solving the set, but the questions are very easy. I hope you could follow the solution thoroughly. If you have any doubts, please let us know in the comments box so that we can help you out with those doubts as well. Thank you.